Hello, welcome to Startup with Ferris live stream. Thank you for tuning in. What's new in the world of entrepreneurship? Dealing with difficult clients. If you've ever had a client make you want to scream into a pillow, this live stream is for you. See, dealing with difficult clients feels like fixing a leaky pipe while the water is still running. It's messy, stressful, and requires a clear plan to get through it. I know because I've been there too. Dealing with difficult clients isn't just a frustrating part of running a business, it can significantly impact your bottom line, your team's morale, and even your ability to focus on growth. And we might have a technical issue here. Give me 1 second. Go live here. We are live on YouTube, but it looks like Facebook and Instagram are not. We'll we'll take a look at it in a sec, but we'll keep going. So it does impact your team's morale, your ability to focus on growth, and also from a client's perspective. According to a Salesforce research, 80% of customers, they say that the experience that you as a consultant, as a provider, provide to them is just as important as the service or product itself. So on one hand, dealing with difficult clients is impacting your bottom line, your team's morale. You can't focus on growth. And then at the same time, clients are unhappy. So we have to address that. And the best way to address it is by understanding the types of difficult clients you might come across, and also common scenarios in dealing or of dealing with and working with clients, difficult clients. And more importantly, how to address them effectively. So we're still having trouble connecting. Give me 1 second. We are having connecting to Facebook. We'll keep trying. Okay, good. So technology, always technology issues, even in Silicon Valley. So sorry about that. In addition to providing you with an understanding of these difficult client scenarios and how to deal with them, in the end of this live stream, I'll have 2 proactive tips that you can use so that you can avoid or at least minimize the chances of getting into difficult situations. Now, before we dive in, a couple of housekeeping items. One is whether you're watching or listening live or tuning in later, I'd love to hear from you. Leave me a comment, send me an email, direct message me. I want to know about your small and big wins, struggles, or any other thoughts that you may have. We're here to help and support the community. And as a matter of fact, we have these live streams every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Pacific or 1 p.m. Eastern, where we cover a topic related to business, related to entrepreneurship, and then we answer questions that come to us from the community. And then last but not least, we have a special promotion for our Black Belt Startup program, the coaching and training program, which will help you start and grow your business to 7 and 8 figures. We'll share that promotion with you at the end of this live stream as well. Let's jump right in. It looks like we are connected, maybe not. Oh yeah, we are connected on Facebook. One more try here. Yes, we are live. So if you are just joining on Facebook, sorry about the technical glitch, but we were not connecting earlier. We are now. So we're just about to dive in. So types of difficult clients and common scenarios that you're likely to run into. Then first type, the micromanager. The micromanager, they want constant oversight and they disrupt your workflow. Now, how to manage this situation? Set boundaries, and on your end, be proactive. Offer regular updates. So, what do I mean by set boundaries? When in your sales process, ideally, and also when you onboard a new client, you let them know that you have a 2 hour response time or a 4 hour response time or maybe a 24-hour response time, whatever works for your business, and be consistent with that. So if you let clients know ahead of the time, ahead of the game, in the sales process or on your website or in your contract, that your response time is 1 business day, and they're expecting answers from you, barring any emergencies, of course, to get back to them right away, then you can remind them politely that, hey, this is my commitment to you in my contract, that we will get back to you within 1 business day, right? So that's one way to setting boundaries. If they're texting you at 9 p.m. at night, ask me how I know. Just the next morning, email them talking very politely. Hey, I gotta focus on other things. I gotta unplug. I have to recharge so I can serve you better the next day, right? So very politely, very, very. I don't want to even say firmly, but you have to set some boundaries. Again, barring any emergencies. If you provide website hosting services and the client's website, an e-commerce website, is down, that's an emergency. Hopefully, you have some sort of setup in your contract to deal with emergencies. But for sort of day-to-day business, you have to set boundaries. If you have this client who's a micromanager, they're trying to, they want to get updates every other minute, and they want to see the progress every other day, and you just cannot focus and deliver the work for them. So keep that in mind. Now, the second type here is the indecisive client. So they struggle to make decisions, and this actually not just impact your ability to finish the project and collect the payment, but also it's not going to help them achieve the results that they hired you to do for them, right? So when you have a client who's indecisive, you have to manage this by, I think the best way is to simplify their options and set decision deadlines. So a lot of us consultants, service providers, we know this, our domain very well. We're very proficient, we're experts in this area, whether it's IT consulting, whether it's, I don't know, maintenance, whether it's coaching, accounting, we know our space really well. So a lot of times when clients come to us with questions, or they're sort of not, they're not ready to make a decision, or it's taking them a long time to make a decision, and they're very indecisive, simplified. It's important to be thorough and give them the pros and cons, but you also have to guide them, and I think simplify the options so they can make a decision and then get the benefit of why they hired you, and also, for you to finish the project and get paid. The third type is the unresponsive client. So they don't provide you, these types of clients, they don't provide you timely input, they stall progress, and at times, especially the unkind type, they are so behind, and then they expect you to turn things around like overnight. So the way to manage this is by establishing upfront expectations, and then use multiple follow-ups. So I think it's important to understand how clients, it's important to understand the best method to communicate with clients that works well for the client. So I think might have mentioned this in another podcast, but I had a client where they just were, email was not a thing for them, and you call them, they don't answer. He was a restaurant owner at the time. This is way back then. We were working with small clients, and the best way to get a hold of him is to go and visit them at the restaurant. Now you get it. He's very generous, very nice, very kind. You'd get an amazing, you get a very delicious meal, and you'd have to spend a couple hours there. But you get all your questions answered, and if you needed them to review your deliverable or give you feedback, they were there. So that was just one way for us to get the project wrapped up and then getting paid, is for me to go and visit them in person. I'm not saying you do this or not do that, whatever works for you. You decide, but try to use or attempt, if they're not responsive on email, maybe they prefer text messages, maybe they use WhatsApp, maybe they use Messenger. So provide, ask them on what communication method they prefer, and then you can be also proactive by providing providing updates, regular updates. So it's a lot of these things. When I talk about difficult situations with with clients, communication is key, and you can do a lot of proactive things, which we'll cover at the end of this live stream, to avoid these situations in the first place. But if they're unresponsive, try to find ways, a channel that they are mostly active on, and then find that maybe the right time. Maybe they're busy in the morning, call them in the afternoon. So and then have that conversation with them on like, hey, once you get a hold of them, like, we got to make progress. You're busy. What is the best time? What is the best method? When can we get together to finish this issue, to finish this project or work on this task? Cool. Now, in terms of some scenarios, so at times you have a difficult client, you get a nasty email, or you call them and they're rude, or they're not the typical person that they have been with you for maybe for the last, for the duration of this contract. And it could be that they're just having a bad day, and they're just venting their frustrations on you, to, based on due to some external stress. So in these scenarios, assuming it is not a pattern, if someone is having a bad day every day, there's something else, of course. Not you, it's something else. But if it just once in a blue moon, they're just unhappy at home with their spouse, with their kids, they maybe just got a ticket, ran a red light, whatever the case might be, they just have some external factors that is just impacting the way they're behaving today. So I think be empathetic, be patient, don't take it personally, and again, make sure it's not a pattern. If it's a pattern, again, we go back to the boundaries, we go back to addressing this behavior in a very polite and a professional manner. And I'll give you some more examples in a second here. And we have those on, for those of you watching, we have this on the slides as well. The next scenario is unreasonable timeline expectations. And this is probably very common. So some clients expect the impossible. They just want stuff done right away. If you committed to that time frame during the sales process, then you're on the hook. But if you told the client, I will finish this project in 4 weeks, and for me to get started, I need these 3 things from you, these requirements. You, client, Mr. Client, you have to provide me with these 3 things for me to do my job. So, and that's when the clock starts ticking. That 4-week window starts when I get the information from you. So if they don't give you that those 3 items that you requested, those prerequisites, if they don't give those to you till 1 week before that initial timeline, that 4-week window we talked about, you can politely remind them that the clock starts ticking when you get all that information. So you might have to also, I recommend that if they are behind on giving you the information you need, you email them, you document that in a very, very, again, very professional, say, hey, thank you so much, I'm waiting on you. And by the way, this is impacting the project timeline. And the more I have to wait, the more, impact, the more delay we have. So it shouldn't be, to them, they don't know. A lot of the clients are busy. They want to give you the information you need and move on, right? And do other things. So reminding them that your work, your timeline, your deliverables depend on the information they give you, that's going to be important, for you to remind them of and document it, because people forget. And especially if you have multiple stakeholders, you might be waiting on one stakeholder to give you access to a system for you to look into. And the other stakeholders within the company, especially if it's a larger company, they have no idea that you're waiting on one of them. So then they maybe blame you as a vendor that you did not deliver on time. So make sure, if you are getting unreasonable timeline expectations, let them know that you are waiting on them. If they're holding, if the holdup is on them, and then other cases where they want to do things faster, more than maybe in a more in an expedited way. Maybe there's something happened internally or externally. Someone wants to finish the project before they go on vacation, so they come to the vendor and say, hey, I want this done quickly. I want this done in a couple of days, and you were thinking it's going to take you 2 weeks to finish it, right? So I think, ask them questions like, what is driving this urgency? A lot of times there are other things. Maybe someone is they have a performance review with their manager and they want to tell them that they finished that project. Who knows? There are all sort of reasons why people push back on the vendor or push on the vendor to finish things, to have some unrealistic timelines. So I think understand what's leading to this and see what you can accommodate. If you can accommodate the timeline that they're proposing, I mean, you're going to be a hero. You'll get an amazing testimonial from them. You'll get maybe a video testimonial that you're the best consultant they've ever worked with. You're very responsive. You bent over backwards to help them out, whatever the case might be. If you can accommodate again, tell them this is an exception because of your urgency. We don't want to make it a habit that every time you want everything like the next day, and let's work together on a more realistic timeline so I can get you the quality of the work that you're expecting. So that is another scenario. Another one here is aggressive negotiators or aggressive negotiation. Some clients negotiate during the sales process and they continue to negotiate after the sales process is done, and once you're in this delivery, this implementation phase, some people just like to get a better deal. So they might push for discounts during the sales process. They might push for more work, more deliverables, or they might, this concept of scope creep. They start adding things to what you're supposed to deliver, and you had maybe budgeted for 30 hours of work, and now it's going to take you 50 hours. So you're eating the cost of this additional work. So people, some of those clients who just very aggressive in negotiation, I'm not saying you say no to their business, especially in the early stages of a business. As I said before, you want to get the clients, you want to get the testimonials, you want to get the logos, you want to get the cash flow, you want to get the cash, the money to help you with your cash flow. But be aware that by nature, these people like to negotiate. So be prepared. Maybe you can always, add a buffer so that you can always negotiate back. So I would say stay flexible, but firm. This is the best. If they're asking you for a discount, this is the best rate that we can offer that ensures the quality of your project. And then I think you can also say, if they're pushing you after the sales is done, by sticking to our agreed terms, I can ensure that your project will stay on track and meet your goals. Because if you start to squeeze me left and right, I won't have the time to produce a quality deliverable for you, Mr. Client. So I think it's okay to negotiate. A lot of people negotiate. It's okay to give discounts and maybe throw in maybe more training, or throw in an additional maybe a couple hours of consulting, or maybe give them a free upgrade, whatever your service, whatever is it that you're selling. But you have to do that knowing the impact of it. If you're giving in and you're giving a lot of free stuff in this negotiation, you might end up impacting your bottom line, and this just will not be good for the business. So negotiate, get that deal, get that sale, keep the client happy, but do establish some boundaries around, like you can't go below a certain discount percentage, or you can't go below. You can't compact the deliverable in a something that takes 6 weeks into a 1 week period. So you have to have some red lines that you don't want to cross, because it will impact your business. And also, if you have a team, it will impact their morale, because that pressure flows down to your team. The next one is, the other scenario is when you have abusive behavior. Someone is harassing you, or maybe one of your team members. And I've seen this not a lot, a few times in my career, where it was really bad. I mean, one case was just very awkward, the way they talked to one of my team members. They're asking for things and they want to meet them in person and send me a picture, like totally unacceptable. So you, as a business owner, I mean, this could be you could be on the receiving end, and you can deal with it. And at times it could be happening to one of your team members. So this unacceptable client behavior should never be tolerated. And I know it's tricky. I know it's hard. I know sometimes you need the money. You cannot afford this client to leave. So, but there's certain things maybe you can tolerate and then set some boundaries. But if these boundaries are getting crossed, you have to take action. Especially, I mean, there's some legal ramifications, but even psychologically, emotionally, people need to be safe at work, you and your team members. So clearly state these boundaries. Like you tell them this behavior is unacceptable. Now you don't have to go and say this in a conference, on a conference call, on a Zoom call with 10 people. I would say talk to the individual one-on-one over Zoom or on a phone call, or you're visiting them in person, saying this is unacceptable. You might have to practice this. You might have to say it 20 times and practice some breathing exercises. These are awkward, difficult conversations, but you have to have them, because if you delay these conversations, if you delay awkward conversations, worse things will happen. I always say that only great things come out of awkward conversations. So, or great things come out of awkward conversations because you're dealing with the issue, right? Again, be prepared. You want to be polite. You want to have evidence. You want to let people know that, again, this is not acceptable. If we want to continue to work together, and I mean, if it continues, you have to end the relationship professionally. Otherwise, worst thing could happen. So the stuff we hear on the news, and how things could end up in some serious, like sexual harassment, or potentially other types of harassments, if they're very verbally, if they're very abusive. I mean, imagine a young employee of yours, a young man, a young woman, and they're just they don't know how to react. They're shy. They're afraid. They want to keep their job. They don't want to cause any waves, but they're under this abusive. They're on the receiving end of this abusive behavior. So you're responsible as a business owner to deal with it, and it is difficult. And you might need to seek the advice of maybe an HR consultant. You can go on any of these platforms, Upwork or others, and find someone, and they can give you specific, like more detailed steps to deal with it. Again, you start professional and let them know that this is not acceptable. Then follow up maybe with an email, and then if they continue, you might have to escalate. Potentially, you might need to get an attorney involved. So that the point here is that you will run into these issues. Hopefully, not a lot of these issues, especially this last one about abusive or harassing behavior. But you, as a business owner, you have to be prepared and know when to get potentially a professional to help you, whether it's an HR professional or maybe like an attorney who they can help you navigate through this difficult scenario. And again, if you have a specific you're going through something like that today, email me, or maybe you don't want to comment on this publicly, but feel free to email me directly at Ferris at startupwithferris.com. I'll be more than happy to maybe set up some time and even give you some tips. The last scenario here we want to talk about is the financial and the legal issues. Scenario one is under this financial and legal issues. Let's say a client not paying you. So you finish the work per the contract. They're very happy, but they're just not paying you. And there are a lot of reasons why they're not paying you. I mean, they could be unhappy, so that's one thing, but they could be happy, and they could be just jerks, and they want to wait 3 months before they pay you, because that's just how they treat their vendors. They could be just tight on cash themselves, right? They're running through some cash flow issue in their business. Who knows, right? So I think the first thing to do is, you as a consultant, as a service provider, offer solutions like, hey, let's come up with a payment plan. If you owe me $10,000, you can't pay now. How about we pay $5,000 now and $5,000 in 2 months? Or let's do a $2,000 a month for 5 months. You assess the situation, or maybe you offer a discount. Hey, I know you're going through some tough times, so 5% discount. But the idea is you want to get that money back. And then if they remain non-compliant, I don't recommend you run to engage a lawyer right away. And in all my in all the content that we produce, I'm big on using professionals like accountants and lawyers. But I would say before you get into a legal action, it's expensive, first of all. So you have to assess if the whole legal approach is going to cost you $2,000 for you to collect $3,000. Maybe not worth it. Maybe not worth it. But I think try every other route first: email, remind, follow up, and then potentially maybe get this letter, this very firm letter from a lawyer. A lot of people just react to it right away. I remember we had a client, and they were doing well financially. It wasn't an issue at all. They did not pay us, and they owed us $13,000, $14,000 for 6, 7 months, and it was it was a matter of follow up. It was crazy. Like we were sending these emails from our system, and then one of our account managers happens to know them, and they know them well, and said, "This person, they pay their bills. I know them." Um, and it took a couple of phone calls to get to the business owner, and we got the check the next week. Within a few days. So sometimes follow ups and finding ways to connect to the business owner themselves, and then show them that the work was completed, and then they owe you the money, and they can get this. They can get you paid. Now, the second scenario under finance and legal issues is, excuse me, what if a client, they want to cancel the contract prematurely? So you have to assess the situation here, um, if it can be remedied. So, for example, maybe they're unhappy with you, and there's a clause in the agreement that they can cancel the agreement if certain deliverables or certain expectations are not met. So that you have to assess, do an honest assessment, check with you or your team if you have a team delivering this project, and see if you have messed up in whatever area that the client is claiming, and see if you can remedy this and say, hey, we'll give you a significant discount, stay with us, we'll change maybe the person that you are not happy with, we'll give you a senior consultant to work with you. We can give you free training, whatever. See if you can remedy this and turn this unhappy client into a happy client. And obviously, you get paid. But if that's not the case, if you've done your part, you've been on top of things, they've benefited from what you've offered so far, but they don't want to pay you again for a number of reasons. I would say, especially if it's a significant amount, send a formal letter, and then talk to your lawyer. They can help you craft a very, 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 very legal letter, and they send it to their counterpart, the attorney on the client's end, and that might be necessary. We had to do this a couple of times, not a lot of times. I think I did it twice over maybe 20 years. In most cases, when clients were not happy with us, we made it up for them, and we were able to salvage the relationship. In a few cases, we lost the client, and then in one case, I remember it was a 6-digit amount, so it wasn't small. It was like $107, like $100,000 or 100,017. It was 6 digits, over $100,000, and the client decided to cancel the contract, and we had hired and staffed up people to serve that contract. I think it was just an 18-month contract. So in that case, we got on the phone with the client. Here's what happened. Here's what we did. We had an issue. We fixed it. We've got the team ready to continue the work. But they had a new change in management. A new VP came in, and the new VP, he or she, they wanted to bring in their own agency at the time. They don't want to work with us, not because we did anything wrong. They just had an agency that they were comfortable working with, and the agency was doing more work for them. And they probably would be getting better rates from that agency. But that's not my issue. You already hired me a few months ago, and I staffed up. We hired to serve this project, and now if you unplug, you want to cancel the contract midstream, I'm going to be, I need time to, I want to recoup my expenses. So it didn't get nasty, or we weren't screaming at each other. So it was a very professional conversation first and then a professional email exchange. We did not agree, so I had my lawyer work with their lawyer, and then we agreed we give, I think, maybe like a 20% discount, and we collected the amount. So yes, it would have been nicer if we got the whole amount, but at times you want things to drag. You want to get the cash in so that you can focus, on the business. So those are the scenarios I wanted to cover today. Now, I have one more thing to cover before we wrap it up, and I want to give you those proactive tips in general across all these scenarios and difficult conversation. Use this technique. Understand the client, where they're coming from, like what the root cause is, and then use yes and language instead of no or but. Like, okay, yes, I hear you, and I can do this. So be open to listening, active listening, read between the lines, understand what the root cause of the issue is. And if you or your team did not deliver, did not deliver on your commitments, missed some deadlines, you have to raise your hand and say, okay, it's on me. Sorry, we'll make it up for you. But if you've done everything right on your part and then they're unreasonable, we covered how to deal with that. You can say, always say, I'd love to help with that, whatever the issue. Let's discuss adding this to the project plan, and see the impact on cost, on deliverables, impact on timeline. So be open to accommodate and maybe show them what's involved in terms of additional cost or maybe additional time to complete the work. So those are the scenarios. Now, what to do when things go wrong? You're trying different things. So three things here. One is listen, as we said, acknowledge the frustration, offer solutions. And I think it's important to handle the client's criticism with an open heart. Like, don't take things very personally. I know business is personal, depending how you look at it. But if you or your team did not deliver to the client's expectations and they were not unreasonable, it's things that you've committed to in the contract. Thank the client for their input, even if it's hard to hear. Evaluate their concerns and see if you can. Is it constructive? Is it going to help me? Is it going to help me improve for the next project? We had a whole live stream on project retrospective where we at each of every project or a major phase of a project get input from the client, good and bad. Good, you want to maintain what's working well, and you want to bolster. You want to just double down on what's working really well, and then areas for improvement. Those are the areas that you want to also be aware of and fix so they don't occur again with the next client. So you want to listen to the client, get their input, and then don't take it too personally, and then improve your processes based on that input that you're getting. And the third point here is that there are cases where it is okay to walk away from a difficult client, from a difficult situation. We talked about clients not paying you, and they're not budging, and they're you a whole lot of money. It doesn't make sense to continue to put time and effort into this account, or again, maybe because of the abusive behavior we talked about earlier. You might just want to end things very quickly, but always be professional. No need for shouting matches. No need for nasty emails. No need for, I will see you and I'll go after you and your assets. So I think because other people are watching, other stakeholders on the client side, your own employees. So you want to be professional. You want to be firm. You want to go after what's yours, 100%. But keep it all professional. And at times you just have to walk away from the client. So we have one more thing to hear before we conclude this live stream, and it is what I promised earlier: the two things that you can do proactively to eliminate or at least significantly reduce these difficult scenarios. Uh, and the quote here that I like is from Jim Collins, about he had the different types of leaders and the level 5 leaders. He says these leaders, they, when things go well, they look out the window because they want to apportion credit. They want to give credit to factors outside of themselves. Now, at the same time, they look in the mirror to appropriate, to apportion, sorry, to apportion responsibility. So they never, like, you don't want to blame others. You don't want to point fingers at others, or maybe bad luck. I think we use the word perfect storm too many times where it's really not the case. Like, is there something I could have done better? So I always like to have, personally, my personal life and my business life, always, when there's something goes wrong, what could have I done better? Not to dwell on it and live in the past, but to learn from that. So with that in mind, if you look at the last few months, or look at the last, maybe if you're doing like end of year, your end of year evaluation, look at those scenarios or the situations where you had issues with the clients, or maybe employees, or maybe with the vendor, with the supplier. And I think two things will help you avoid these. One is setting clear expectations from the start. Many clients' issues, if not, I don't want to say all, most of client issues can be avoided by setting clear expectations from day one. So when you establish clear boundaries, you agree on specific deliverables, specific milestones, on the communication methods and frequencies and cadence, you will create a shared understanding that will reduce all these misunderstandings later on. And in my experience, skipping this step has led to a whole lot of frustration on both ends. So especially when you're starting your business, or if you're new to contracts, you might have this one-page contract. Okay, here's what I'll deliver for you. Here's the money. Sign. That's it. I mean, this is a formula for a disaster. You should have formal contracts. It does not have to be a 20-page document, but something that is clear and concise, that covers the essentials, including an executive summary of the client's problem and your solution, the scope of the work, what's included, what's not included, what is it that it's your responsibility as a consultant, as a service provider, what is it that it is the responsibility of the clients, the timelines and the dependencies, and the payment terms, when, how, and how much will be paid at what point, and of course the fun legal stuff, confidentiality, all that, all the sort of your standard contract template. And if you don't have a template, let me know. We'll share one with you from our end here. So that's one thing about setting expectations, specifically in the sales process and when you onboard a client. And we do have a live stream on onboarding, and we also have an article on our website, startupwithferris.com, that talks about onboarding. It's really important that you set, you get the client into your system, into your workflow, with clear expectations on communication, on scope, on what will happen when. The second point, and the last tip here I want to cover, is maintain open and professional communication. Cannot emphasize this enough. Good communication can mean the difference between resolving issues or escalating them. So frequent communication, weekly updates, depending again on the scope of your service, any obstacles that you run into, any changes in timeline and scope and budget, all of that needs to be communicated to the client. And if you set up, I think, regular check-ins, especially if your service spans, let's say, a period of 3 months or what have you, like, make sure you are communicating with the client in the method that they prefer, and you're documenting changes, you're documenting what was done last week, what is scheduled for the next week, the dependencies on the clients, and the dependencies maybe on a vendor on a supplier, whatever the case might be. Just documenting, communicating with the client is really important. And if you haven't done any of this previously, if you're new to business and you haven't done a lot of client management, account management, project management, we have an article on our website, startupwithferris.com, on mastering client communication. So check it out, and hopefully you can apply those tips right there in your business. So we're coming to the end of this live stream. Dealing with difficult clients isn't easy, but it is an opportunity for you to learn and grow. And if you are liking this content, as you see on the screen, for those of you watching, we have our YouTube channel at Startup with Ferris, and Ferris is spelled Feras. If you're liking this content, click the subscribe button, click the like button, share this video with others. Let us know what questions you have, what other maybe questions you have, and we'll be more than happy to address those in future live streams. And then, as mentioned earlier, we do have our Black Belt Startup program, which is a training and coaching program uh, with office hours with me. So it's not just go and read those articles or watch those videos. It is access to me with answering your questions that you're going through every week. We have those this year. We have them on Wednesdays, and you learn from others, and then I provide answers to your questions. And this program is based on the time-tested principles from both business and martial arts, with my background in Aikido. And it's a month-to-month program, no long-term commitments, and it is 30-day money-back guarantee. And we do have the promotion for this end of year, so it's end of year EOY 2024, and you get a $100 discount on your first 3 months with us. So if you are looking to expedite your learning, if you want to avoid spending 6 months or 9 months dealing with the challenges of growing your business, working with an advisor will help you save time, money, and will get you to your destination faster with less pain, with less resources, and with a higher probability of succeeding. Anyhow, that is it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. And again, if you have any follow-up questions, go to startupwithferris.com, or leave us a comment on whichever platform you are on, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, or Instagram. And we will see you next time.